Welcome to the criminal imagination, where crimes are clues, stories are suspects, and history itself hides in the shadows of fiction. Today we slip through the cobbled alleys of Italy and Spain, two nations with rich cultures yet a delayed and often troubled relationship with crime fiction. Why did it take so long for a murder mystery to take hold in these literary powerhouses, and what happens when fiction meets fascism? Let's investigate. In 19th century Italy, crime fiction looked less like murder and more like a sermon. The few homegrown tales weren't whodunits, they were whodunits, with the culprit revealed from the start and the real drama unfolding in the moral guilt and divine justice. Take Francesco's Mastriani's The Blind Woman from Sorrento or My Cops. Not quite thrilling capers, but rather fables dipped in melancholy. Or Emilio de Marchi's The Priest's Hat, where the crime lingers under ecclesiastical shadow. Italy's real plunge into the world of crime came from abroad. In 1910, Il Corriere della Sera began serializing the stories of Conan Doyle, opening the Italian eyes to foreign suspense. Soon came Poe and Leroy, a global invasion of intrigue. By 1929, the now iconic Libri Gialli yellow books emerged, wrapped in their signature mustard covers, but early on they published only translated tales. It wasn't until 1931 that Augusto de Angelis and Virgilio Veraldo began writing original Italian mysteries, finally giving readers their own homegrown detectives. But then came the censors. Under Mussolini's fascist regime, things took a bizarre turn. A law was passed requiring that 20% of all crime stories come from Italian writers. But here is the catch: the criminals could not be Italian, they were not allowed to be Italian. The result: authors like Ezio de Erico began setting their murders in Paris, Boston, Massachusetts. Entire fictional crimes were outsourced, turning every murder mystery into a geographical puzzle. By 1941, the charade collapsed. Crime fiction was banned altogether for being morally corrupting. Crime was criminal. Post-war, the silence broke. Giorgio Scherbanenko led the noir revival in the gritty streets of Milan. Think private detectives in cheap coats, cigarette ash falling on cold tile floors. And then came Carlo Emilio Gada's That Awful Mess on Via Merulana, a biting satire of the justice system draped in philosophical cynicism. It wasn't about solving the crime, it was about exposing the absurdity of the world around it. Today, we see his legacy in Andrea Camilleri's beloved Inspector Montalbano, a Sicilian detective who craves pasta almost as much as justice, and in Leonardo Sciascia, who mapped the mafia's reach into every institution with unflinching precision. Meanwhile, in Spain, crime fiction had a different struggle. The first notable tale was Pedro Antonio Alacrón's "The Nail", a chilling first-person confession about a woman, a murder, and a nail found lodged in her dead husband's skull. The twist: she admits to the killing but claims someone else made her do it. And who was that someone? She never says. It's haunting, ambiguous, and left readers then and now haunted by its moral fog. But by 20th century, Spain's rising interest in crime fiction hit a wall, a dictator-shaped wall. Under Franco, any book that didn't glorify the police was shut down. Writers had to paint officers as perfect saints solving perfect crimes. It was less fiction and more propaganda. Only a few, like Francisco Pavon, were allowed to write, but their tales read more like hymns to the state than murder mysteries. Then came freedom. Post-Franco's Spain gave rise to a new kind of detective, cynical, left-leaning, angry. Enter, enter Manuel Vasquez Montalban, imprisoned and tortured in the 1960s, who crafted the perfect anti-hero Pepe Carvalho. ex-communist, ex-CIA agent, now a private investigator in Barcelona, Carvalho smoked, cooked, raged, and revealed a corrupt world beneath Spanish charm. Across 22 novels, he didn't just solve crimes, he exposed system. So what do we learn from Italy and Iberia? That crime fiction isn't just entertainment. It's a mirror, a rebellion, a whisper in the dark that says, I see what you're hiding. In these countries, crime fiction was once outlawed, censored, or forced to wear a mask, but it adapted, disguised itself, fled across borders, or exploded into fierce critique the moment it could. That is the criminal imagination at work, not just inventing stories, but surviving history. Which of these authors or stories would you most likely to read or see adapted into a film? Let us know in the comment below. If you enjoyed today's dive into crime fiction's rebel roots, like, subscribe, and share it with fellow mystery lovers. Until next time, crime is the poetry of logic corrupted by desire. The criminal imagination never sleeps.